I think we are live. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hi everyone. I hope that I'm audible. I hope that I'm visible. Hi chat, Lavina, Vaseem, Mukund. Welcome everyone. Can someone confirm if everything is okay? In the meantime, Jenil, welcome back to the channel.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's always great to have you on. Usually Srinath accompanies us. Today was a very
Yeah.
last minute thing, and he had something else to do. Till 6:37, I wasn't sure if you're having the stream or not. There were a couple of other things that were going on, but I'm glad we got to do
Yeah.
this.
hmm
Uh, One sec. Let me just confirm if everything is okay.
There's
Yes.
gonna be at least one person saying the voice is not good. So,
Yeah. Audio check, video check. Yes, all okay. Very cool. Very very
is
cool.
this a new camera?
It is, yes.
Okay. Yeah, looks much better.
Yeah. I got a Logitech webcam, and
Cool.
in general, there's been a lot of upgrades happening. I even got a green screen, but I haven't used it yet.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's mainly for gaming.
Cool.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
look great
Looks
vlog.
looks really good.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great vlog cameo. Okay, Abhinav, I assume you were talking of Suhani's vlog, which was quite a surprise. Yes. How are you guys doing, Chad? I hope everybody is doing well. Today we'll be talking about artificial intelligence. It's a topic that I've been looking forward to discussing since a while, and we are going to we're going to talk about the topic mainly from artificial intelligence, but we'll be talking
Right.
about intelligence also, and it will lay the groundwork for talking about intelligence in general later on. So we'll talk about the
Right.
neuroscience aspect later. All right, Janel,
Right.
what's been up, man? How are you been?
I've been good. I've been working on a few AI side projects, and I started building my first company
Yeah?
in the last 3 months, and we just launched on January 1st, New Year's. So
Damn.
it's been a rough 3 months, but it's been going great so far. And
Congratulations. What's your new company called?
so it's called Coinwise. We're working on crypto, and it's a platform where we enable like creators and companies to issue their own cryptocurrency on Ethereum. And this is going to allow just individuals and even communities. This whole idea of building communities and having them regulate their own cryptocurrency is fascinating to me,
Damn.
and we're enabling that on our platform. And we already have like 15 people using our platform with a community of over 10,000 people. So it's been crazy of how like the response has been, and I'm really excited for like this new version of money that's coming into picture, and people
Yeah.
slowly started to adopt crypto.
So I know that we are planning to do an entire stream on crypto
Right,
later,
right, right. hmm
but I just wanted to ask that we can buy cryptocurrency in India, right?
Yeah, we can. So there's several like exchanges in India like WazirX, CoinDCX, and a
Yeah.
few others that are popular in India.
Yeah.
I mean, just from operating something like a crypto project in India, the rules are a bit blurred out, and it's not banned, but it's not regulated either.
Right.
So it's still a gray area. So like we'll see where this goes. Hopefully, it's optimistic.
Yeah.
Other countries are welcoming to it. So
Absolutely. I
hopefully,
mean,
it's good. Yeah.
I've been reading up about it a little bit, and I think Bitcoin is already sky high.
25K.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and every time I read about Bitcoin, I feel that I should have bought it 4 months ago, and
Yeah,
I
and
never.
even today, it's like I mean, people are speculating that it may go to 100K
Yeah,
like by the end of
100
this
or
year, which is
150. Yeah,
which is crazy. But yeah, everyone should invest in crypto.
everyone should invest, and I'm now thinking of Ethereum. So let's see,
Yeah, a
maybe.
lot of developers building on Ethereum. If you're a developer, I mean, so there was this survey where over 70% of developers are building on Ethereum, which is
Right,
crazy. So I would bet on Ethereum
right. Yeah.
because that's where the developers are.
What happened to? I mean, okay. So this is a fascinating topic, and I think we'll go too deep into it right now.
Mhm.
I mean, Facebook was thinking of coming up with its own crypto.
So I mean, they came up with Libra,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And their whole like notion of like blockchain and the way they marketed it and the way they built that protocol where they're monitoring all these transactions, they're regulating
yeah.
these transactions, they're the ones who are like
So,
this centralized entity that's
yes.
like
So that goes against the
operating.
whole concept of.
Exactly, which
Yeah.
is why they were like, so there's this great video where Mark Zuckerberg is being plastered by these congressmen in the White House about their Libra cryptocurrency and how the project just like, so every single investor that invested in Facebook just dropped out like one by one, and it was just a meltdown. But I think it's coming back again. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, we're gonna do a whole stream on cryptocurrency.
yeah, yeah,
Even on my Discord channel, there were 4 5 people who had said that they want to talk about crypto. They are
yeah.
either coders or who are involved in cryptocurrency in some way. So we can definitely do a group like a general community stream on that. But today we are talking about intelligence,
Yeah, yeah,
and we're talking about
yes,
artificial intelligence.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
So, yeah, so I think today what we can do is we can explore intelligence in general and what it means to be like, have like a human brain and how intelligent it is and how we've evolved so far as a species. And we can talk about artificial intelligence generally and then go deeper into like what GPT-3 is.
Yes.
It's been all the hype since it's got released and what it can do. So we'll play around with GPT-3, do a short demo,
Yeah.
and have the audience engage, ask questions to the AI because it's certainly been fun for me to interact with GPT-3. And we'll go more deeper into it, and eventually we'll end off talking about Singularity, which is
Brilliant.
which is when AI takes over. So that's gonna
So
be fun.
we are the generation that has grown up hearing about AI,
Right.
right? We have talked about AI. We have had such opposite extreme viewpoints on AI that AI is either going to save us or kill us all.
Right.
There
And
is
it's interesting to see like it's this binary opinion where either people are very optimistic or it's just really like scary thought of like what AI would play out and how it will turn out to be. I'd love to know like what the general opinion in this audience is of whether they're like scared or optimistic about it. But in the short term, it's going to be certainly helpful.
Yeah. So, Chad, I want to know what is your opinion on this? What has been your experience with conversations on AI? What have your friends talked about? What has your family talked about AI? What do you think AI is at the present and where it's going? And let me see as the conversation goes on if your opinion is strengthened or changed because of this conversation. Yeah, Jen.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's start with this whole idea of intelligence
Yeah.
and how we evolved as humans. And if you think about it, uh, I have a feeling that the thesis that I want this conversation to be is that humans evolved through the power of its collective intelligence
Yeah.
so far, and the way our brain evolved over time. And maybe you can add on that on how like our brain has evolved and we have a prefrontal cortex, but we are the only species on planet Earth that operates as a network.
That can communicate and
That
cooperate.
can communicate, cooperate on a global level universally,
Yes.
especially with technology.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, we're already acting as sort of cyborgs where we're using our phones and we're using some form of technology to be connected with each other.
Yeah.
And we can like transfer and cooperate with each other in like super fast, almost instantly, which is crazy.
The things that we take for granted, even today in this live stream, there must be people from across the country or maybe across the world who are exchanging ideas instantaneously and learning about something like GPT-3. Some people would have already known about it. So somebody had just said, GPT-3 is great. I'm actually working on it. Wait, where was that? Yeah, White Panda just said, GPT is great. I'm working with it. That's awesome. And there'll be people who are hearing about GPT-3 for the first time today. And
Yeah.
this, the fact that we can all communicate right now, we've just taken it for granted. It's so obvious.
Right.
But
Right.
it wasn't there 40 years ago. This could have never happened. So this is intelligence at a global scale.
Exactly. And the fact that, I mean, we can just like, we're using AI right now. We're using our computers, we're streaming online and there's like thousands of people watching or, however many people are watching. So I think that's intelligence right there. We're communicating through a machine.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think about like, let's take a step back and let's talk about like, what's the purpose of AI? Like, what's the purpose of intelligence? So we'll talk about this whole idea of success a lot, where what artificial intelligence does is it acts on predefined goals and predefined knowledge base. So as human beings, if we talk about intelligence, what is our purpose as a collective species and where are we going, right?
Yeah. I have a very simplistic view on that. I think the purpose is to get shit done.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah, and playing these little games where you figure out what shit to work on and then achieving those shit so we can live a happy life. But if you think about throughout just the cosmic timescale of how we've evolved over time, like if there was species that were on other planets, I'm sure there are
Yeah.
in different galaxies. If they were to get to a point where artificial intelligence would have taken over, I think it would have taken over the entire like universe. Because if you think about it, having technology transport light years away is pretty easy to do. Human beings are mortal creatures, but technology can has much more power to do that.
Right. So
So since that hasn't happened, something stopped it.
this is the whole Fermis paradox.
Exactly. So
So,
this is the whole
guys,
Fermis
if you have
paradox.
not heard about Fermi's paradox, I would highly recommend that you check it out. Check out the video. It's called FERMY, Fermi.
FERMI.
MI. It's
Yeah.
FERMI, Fermi's paradox. Go check out. What can I recommend? Search it on YouTube. Also, check out this website called Wait But Why. And
Right. Came open.
Wait But Why has a great article on Fermi's paradox. I would highly recommend you check it out. Great filter, exactly, Pronit. That's I would recommend that you read it.
Great filter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
definitely. So I think as collective like human beings and using our intelligence, I think what technology does overall and what we want to achieve is human or world progress.
Yeah.
And we want to we're basically outsourcing our decision making in the short term when you're really using AI. But like how can it be useful down the line in like constructing complex machines that can allow us to like transport ourselves or just communicate better.
Right.
There's so many possibilities and unanswered questions which intertwines with physics and a lot of other areas. But I think that's sort of the goal of intelligence.
Now, we know that intelligence evolved over time in biology.
Right.
So when we look at intelligence and if we suppose we hold that very primitive aspect of we want to get shit done, animals also used to get shit done.
Right.
Insects also used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Even bacteria would do that at their level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are to look at evolution as a marker of intelligence, we can sort of see that what has been evolving is actually intelligence.
Right.
And the way you interact with the environment, the way you take in information, process information, and then you use that information to decide on your output.
Exactly. And this is the whole idea of an intelligent agent in AI, where you perceive your environment and act accordingly. So initially, like the whole idea of the artificial intelligence was that we wanted to act and think rationally.
Yeah.
Sort of how humans does. Like human brain is great at acting rationally, which differentiates us from like other primitive species.
Right.
Because of our prefrontal cortex. And this is something similar where we want to use that software and compute that the brain does with neural synapses. We wanted to have like AI do that, at a much larger scale.
Although I feel that we are very kind to ourselves when we say that humans act rationally, because for a large part of our lives we actually end up not acting very rationally. We end up acting very instinctively and quite animalistic. But the fact that we are capable of rational thought is what is differentiating us from animals.
Definitely. And so we'll talk a lot about acting rationally and also the knowledge base. I feel like rational and knowledge base go hand in hand. And this was sort of the early stages of artificial intelligence where we thought that we could solve the problem of AI with having a larger knowledge base. So if you think about it, growing up, as old as we've got, we act and think based on our experiences and the knowledge base we have. Like everything we've learned so far, everything we've experienced so far, our decisions is based on that. That's how we act, right?
Yeah. Tell me about AI. Tell me about how did it evolve?
So let's start with the infamous Alan Turing test. That's when
someone just mentioned on chat, Himanshu Agarwal, Turing test. That's pretty much where it started from.
That's pretty much where it started. I'd say it started earlier than that. Like if you talk about just machines and building like complex architecture, software architecture to solve human problems. But I think that's the best story to start with. And if you've seen Imitation Game, I think it's a great movie. It summarizes the whole idea really well.
Yeah.
But the whole
Benedict
Cumberbatch, who played Alan Turing. And I think just recently or not so recently, Alan Turing's face was on the British pound note.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as just to give like respect to him and in his honor,
Sure.
but uh, so they developed this machine Enigma, right,
Yeah.
where uh, it solved like these problems of like uh, attacking and intercepting these encrypted messages, and what it's I think it's called Caesar
Yeah.
sorting, where you find out like what the encrypted
The
messages and
German
decrypted.
encrypted messages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest lines in the movie when we were talking about TAS is was not constructing the Enigma to get those encrypted messages. It was using it carefully and figuring out the probabilities and statistics of using it just enough so that they don't figure out that they cracked the code,
Right.
but the maximum amount of times to save the most amount of people from dying
Right.
from the
Right.
war.
Because that is
And
that is the better outcome.
that is the better outcome, because if they just use it blatantly, then the Germans will know that they've like figured out all the
Right.
messages. So you want to
Right.
like a complex architecture of like how many times to use, which is where the whole idea of probability and statistics come in, and that's what helped us get out of the AI winter. Is how like when I studied it was put, is that we solved artificial intelligence through this idea of probabilistic reasoning and calculating probabilities, and that's how like AI outputs anything and makes a decision from
Right.
all the knowledge base, calculating the probabilities and saying that okay, if this is what I see is a flower, then you can say the probability is like let's say 78% or 92%,
Hmm.
and based on that, it makes a decision on like what it like thinks is the most
Essentially,
probable
what you're
answer.
saying is pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition, right?
Perfect. Uh,
So that's yeah.
yeah. So I wanted you to share your screen and show the PPT that you had made because the
Right.
initial bit looked very interesting.
Mhm. Okay, so we're talking GPT-3. So
Yeah.
should we talk about GPT-3 and
Yes.
OpenAI?
Yes.
Okay, so OpenAI was built by Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and a few other people, an entire
God
team of
damn. It's
researchers.
unfortunate that this is the most popular image of his.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but also great because it's like liberating to all the people who are nerds. And having Elon Musk smoke weed on Joe Rogan podcast was just people were like, if Elon Musk can do it, then we can do it, right?
That's true. Guys, I need you to go check out this podcast. It was outside of this picture. This podcast has been a very eye opening one. It's on the Joe Rogan Experience, and Elon Musk was on it the first time he came on it. So that is when this happened, and very interesting podcast overall. Yeah, Jen.
Right. Yeah, and Sam Altman, I think I find Sam Altman just as interesting as Elon Musk just because of the kind of work he's done.
Yeah.
Outside of this, he was a partner at Y Combinator and he was the president at Y Combinator.
Oh damn. Okay.
And he helped fund a lot of startups. In fact, he's an investor in one of our competitors. So like he's he's done some great work in technology, the kind of companies he's invested in, and his overall like goal is that he invests in companies that promote human or world progress, which is why he built OpenAI and GPT-3.
Hmm.
So it was this collective of like nerds or like just researchers who built OpenAI Initiative, which is like a non-profit or I guess for-profit research organization where they build solutions on building a safe AI
Right.
because AI safety is very important, right?
So that is what the whole argument was of Elon versus a lot of other companies.
Right.
That Elon was sort of against rampant AI proliferation because he had this fear that it can go down a very dark path.
It can. And I mean, I think we just don't know it yet, but it already has in some like experiments that were done like behind
Okay.
doors. Like we've seen some news articles where Facebook was working on an AI when they were like talking to each other and they started to talk to each other.
My God,
And uh,
that's the
it's
stuff that nightmares and sci-fi horror films are made of.
right, exactly. It reminds me of the Matrix, right? Of how it multiplied and gained
Excellent.
intelligence.
All right.
But yeah, let's talk about AI generally and what artificial intelligence is for people that don't know much about it. And what we're really trying to achieve is a software that is just exactly like or thinks and acts like a human brain,
Hmm.
which is quite complex. And once we do achieve that, how can we outsource some of our decision making and some of our problems to the AI and have it work on it so we can work on something else.
Right.
Something that's redundant, something that we do every day but doesn't feel quite productive. And even solving some complex problems that we don't already have when it does get smarter than the human brain.
Yeah. So we're sort of making it smarter and advanced to solve the problems that we will face, and we don't have to solve them later.
Right. And there's plenty of problems, especially in physics and just computation,
Yeah.
that we haven't been able to solve. And, there's sort of unanswered questions that's like preventing us. If you think about like the last 20 years, and if you think about the 40 years during the 1990s, the greatest discoveries happened during that time when we discovered light, we discovered electricity, we discovered the wheel, and we had cars. But in the last 20 years, we haven't had that much big of those achievements and those breakthrough innovations. And I think artificial intelligence is one of those breakthrough innovations that's going to help us move forward,
That's
including
interesting.
crypto.
It's almost, do you think it's almost a sign of our own cognitive limits? That
I think so.
there is a limit to what we can calculate or compute in our brains, and we need AI to catch up in order to make the next big discovery in physics, for instance.
Right. And that's the saturation point where we've hit with cognition. And over time, I think AI can help us go beyond that saturation point and cognitively help us get through this. Because we still need those intelligent human beings. Like imagine if we had there's 7.8 billion people. Imagine if we had 7.8 billion Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, or Elon Musk. How fast we would grow, right? And that's what AI is. It can multiply that fast, but it can also be as smart, and it can help us be super smart.
Yeah, the distance between the smartest person and the least smart person is already quite large, but you add AI to the mix, and we are talking of another species almost. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's another topic.
Tangent.
But yeah, let's get back.
Yeah. So we want the AI, artificial intelligence, to basically think and act like humans.
Yeah.
And more specifically, think and act rationally, because rationale is something that humans have that differentiates us.
Right.
And the way we are doing it right now, and obviously it's much more complex. We have neural networks, we have probabilities, and we have complex structures. And we can talk about the smartest neural network systems that are out there, especially with self-driving cars. But it acts on predefined goals. So every human being, if you think about it, we have an idea of success and how you define success and how to fulfill that.
Right.
How do you translate that to software? Let's say I'm creating a artificial intelligent machine or just a software, and I have predefined goals that define success. So let's say I'm building an AI that cleans my house. So the definition of success is that the house should look clean. There shouldn't be dirt on the floor, right? And so now that we have the definition of success, we need predefined goals of how to achieve those success.
Yeah.
Right. So you define those goals and how do you program them? That's basically how it started, how we started building artificial intelligence.
Yeah. So you sort of reverse engineer from your goal all the way to what should be your next step.
Right. And how we can make it more intuitive is this idea of a knowledge base. So we have a knowledge base. Let's say we're talking about computer science or AI. My knowledge base comes from what I studied in computers or mathematics or just throughout in science and technology. And my whatever decisions I'm making are influenced by that knowledge base.
Yeah, so if you have to clean your house, if you don't know what a broom is, if you don't know what cleaning fluid is, you can't go about it.
Exactly. So that's having a more larger and larger knowledge base helps us make helps us make better decisions, right? And more accurate answers.
Yeah.
Which is the great thing about AI. It always gives the right answer.
क्या AI दाऊद को ढूंढ सकता है? Oh man. Actually, not a bad question. I'm sure that if given enough information, it can.
Probably, I guess so.
Because
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, it is just about having enough data.
Having enough data, and that's kind of what GPT-3 is. And we'll talk about the kind of parameters that went into building GPT-3.
There is a serial called God Befriended Me.
Oh, really?
It's on Amazon, and I mean, mad serial, not recommending it, but there is an interesting concept that uh,
Hmm.
given enough data, a
Hmm.
predictive algorithm can behave a lot like God. Because a
Right.
predictive algorithm will be able to know your personality, will be able to know all your friends' personalities, will be able to
Hmm.
know who is in trouble, who has debt,
Right.
who is in a position where they are emotionally strung out and is
Hmm.
likely to commit a crime. And if
Right.
you have enough data,
Hmm.
you can influence people, you can maneuver them into behaving in a certain way.
And I'll take this even further, right? Let's take social media and the
Right.
recommendation algorithms, right?
Absolutely.
It's already constructing narratives and feeding us things that we already like, and just giving these feedback loops that we don't necessarily need, but we're still like, it's in our face every morning, and we're already in that trap more in a more subtle way,
Yeah, you just take it up a notch, and
right?
the only thing that they don't have is your emotional states. But even that can be deduced
Right.
the from the kind of messages you send, from the kind of things that you
Like
watch,
buttons, yeah,
like
exactly.
patterns, all of
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, so I'll give you a counter argument on that also. Like, so it doesn't necessarily mean that having a huge knowledge base. So I can give you all the data in the world, but that doesn't make you smart at all. It's your ability to finding patterns, and you can achieve whatever your definition of success is with a much smaller knowledge base, or even like constructing simulations, which is
Yeah.
another tangent on AI, where let's say I have a knowledge base of like, let's say 1 GB, like 1 GB of worth of data, right? Uh, I can make simulations of that and combinations of that 1 million of 1 GB worth of data in my own brain of like different possibilities of what it could look like, because there's different combinations you can make with that knowledge base, right?
Right. So it's not about what you know, but what you do with it.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And this really fits into the whole idea of self-driving cars, because there's companies that have a huge knowledge base on like how cars should work, and there's companies that have a very small knowledge base, but their cars are still really smart.
Yeah. So you can you can squeeze more out of the same amount of data.
Right, exactly.
Right. Right.
Which is why, and the way to do it is through simulations. So you can simulate different circumstances with that
Correct.
same data points.
So like a chess AI, chess algorithm,
Right,
you just
exactly.
teach it the rules. You don't teach any of the games, but it can just play itself infinite number
Right.
of times and keep learning.
Keep learning, exactly. So just because someone has a better knowledge base or greater knowledge base doesn't make the AI smarter.
Right.
It just makes it more capable, you know.
Right. Brilliant. Okay, one second. AI crying over Arjit Singh would be amazing to watch. Okay, you know who? Whatever you are keen on watching. Bye, buds. Oh, Saloni is here and Saloni is gone. All right. Himanshu Agarwal, also elemental concept of performance task experience. AI should be able to improve performance of task using experience. How complex or
Exactly.
simple you make, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which is, and we'll take an example of self-driving cars there, because experiences, I mean, I think self-driving cars is the closest AI has gotten to
Yeah.
incredible, because we're using it right now. And I think some of the solutions that are out there are outstanding. And some of the solutions that are out there are pure garbage. So it's important to know the distinction and how
Yeah.
they're like engineering the whole neural network there. But I think if once we do solve self-driving cars and get to level 5, which is fully autonomous driving
Yeah.
cars, and we just sit in the car and just have it take over,
So, Elon Musk had said that the steering wheel is going to be obsolete.
it's going to be obsolete. Yes,
So,
and but that's not anytime soon.
of
Yeah,
course, but then the cars would be just seats facing each other so that everyone can talk, and there'll be a table in the middle, and you can just have a meal or have a drink, and that.
do, I'll take this even further. There's companies right now that are building tablets and TVs that are specifically made for cars, so that when like cars go to like fully autonomous, and
Yeah.
you can watch like televisions that are these like, they're slightly bigger than tablets, but
Okay.
you can play like video games, you can watch Netflix, you can do anything with them, and you can just install them, which is like an industry of its own right now.
Yeah, so there is no doubt that a lot of things that we now take for granted uh, that machines will do,
Hmm.
driving is going to be one of them. There,
Definitely.
our grandkids or maybe our kids might probably look back and say that you used to drive those things yourself. How ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why driving is the closest artificial intelligence goes. And if we solve driving, if we solve self-driving cars, we would pretty much solve the whole question of AI. And I'll tell you why. It's because driving is the perfect amount of uncertainty and skill involved. Sort of like the game poker, right? It's the perfect amount of skill, but also the perfect amount of uncertainty, which is sort of how things in life work. And driving is one of them. You're constantly focusing on like maintaining the right distance between cars. Your decision making is like going point after point where you're calculating physics, speed, force, when to stop. There's so many decisions happening.
So it's ironic that in self-driving AI, the hardest is at the beginning, and
Right.
as more and more cars become self-driving, the easier it will become
Exactly.
because the
Which will
communication
also,
between
yeah,
cars is going to improve. And
exactly.
yeah, it's only when there are human drivers still on the road that that uncertainty will be there.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. So that's something that's going to feed into this like intelligence of that
Yeah.
self-driving system. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see like fully
Yeah.
autonomous cars and like having like traffic problems go away.
So
Just like,
the more there are self-driving cars on the road, the more data you get and the more predictable the whole system gets.
exactly.
So in both ways, it's better.
Right. And there's this company which is called Comma AI. I don't know if you've heard of it. So it's like, so there's Tesla, there's Waymo,
Yeah.
there's, Zoot,
Yeah.
Zoox, and a few others that are like very well known in the space. But I like Tesla, but I'm not a huge fan of Waymo and a bunch of other self-driving solutions
Yeah.
because
They use LiDAR and stuff.
they use LiDAR and that like we're humans, right? We use eyes to see stuff.
Yeah.
Like we don't use LiDAR.
I think
which is-
Tesla is
I-
the only one that is using a visual based.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I cannot believe we live in a world where we're still discussing what's better, LiDAR or cameras. I think the answer is very clear. But anyways, yeah, I think if you just think about it in terms of pure engineering and
Yeah.
pure like neural networks, I think the most powerful neural network that's out there is Comma AI. And it's open source on GitHub, by the way. So they have
Acha.
this software called Autopilot, which any company can use in the world, and they can build a self-driving car based off of that in any country. So it's completely open source.
That's crazy.
Which is what I love. And they're solving like this whole like problem of autonomous driving openly in public. And every single line of their code, if you see the neural network, it's one of the most powerful neural networks that's out there. And
How
they
is it
have
open
this-
source? So you can actually get a small car, like a robotic car, and put the software in it, and it'll just drive around the house by itself.
Yeah, so actually I can share my screen and I can show it to you how it works.
Yeah,
And,
go
like,
ahead.
okay, so I'm gonna do a new share.
Oh wow! All right. Computer vision is another novel set of solutions which may explore the type of AI-enabled softwares and hardwares we will have in the future, similar to evolution of I, which led to Big Bang of evolution. That's an interesting comment, Himanshu, because
Yeah.
the switch from sound to sight, actually that happened very very long ago. It happened in the sea itself. It happened in the oceans. So the deepest fishes, they don't have eyes, so they I think they navigate through thermal sensing or something. But then in the ocean itself, eyes got evolved, and they were initially on both sides, and then the eyes came to the front, and you had binocular vision, and that's how evolution happened. Okay, comma.ai. Oh wow! All right.
Right. So their whole thing is make driving chill, and this is their open source software, Autopilot, which developers can use and build self-driving cars and use this software. It's a driver assistance system,
Okay.
and even the data that's being fed is also public. So I think it's comma 10K.
But
So
this
these
is
are crowdsourced
brilliant.
images.
Somebody said, oh, Avi Trivedi. Avi. So Avi's been, Avi's, I think, doing a podcast on virtual reality, and we have to have a conversation. So yeah, I have used OpenPilot for my car games. So you can use this for games as well.
Yeah. You can use this.
Brilliant.
So it's pretty open-ended. So it's there's a Discord where you can go ask questions and even get developer support. So this is like all like these crowdsourced images that they have, which is kind of the data they feed in. And the best thing about Comma AI, I mean, I don't want to promote them way too much because they're not paying me, but the great thing about them is that they create simulations, which means
Right.
that even though they have like a small data set, they can create different simulations of like what a car ride would have been like, or what it would have done if it like hit into this curb,
Right.
and create these scenarios that didn't even happen, but they have a software where it can simulate them and make the AI better, which is great.
So you don't have to wait for an actual car to actually crash into a curb for them to learn.
Exactly. Right.
Makes sense.
And they have this, so this is something that I think you can order in India also. They have this thing where instead of like, if with Tesla, you have to use a Tesla to do autopilot, you can just plug this in any cars and you can see if it's compatible with your car, and your car becomes autopilot, which is kind of crazy.
That's insane. That's
So
insane.
you can check which car you have and see if like Comma AI
Wait,
is compatible.
is Maruti even there?
I don't know. I haven't really checked. I don't have a car, so
Oh man. Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
fair enough. I didn't have high hopes. It's fine.
yeah. But yeah, let's go back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now that we've talked about artificial intelligence and having it think and act like humans rationally, let's talk about probabilistic reasoning. Let's go a little bit into math, because at the end of the day, if you boil it down to numbers, it's a lot of discrete mathematics, statistics, and it's the worst chapter that you see in maths when you're in 11th or 12th grade, which is
Yeah.
this fun
Probability.
chapter called probabilities, permutations, and combinations. And those are the hardest problems, right? But
Right.
those are the problems that are feeding the artificial intelligence engine. And the whole idea is that you calculate these probabilities, and there's a mathematic formula and there's different ways of getting to like adversarial search and getting to a particular output and a decision. But you have a list of these probabilities with weights, and weights is usually like, if there's a human being, the weight would be, their bias, or like their knowledge base, or like their skin color, or like whether they're leftist or rightist. These are different weights that go into decision making. So you take those weights into account when you're taking these probabilities,
Yeah.
and that spits out a probability from 100%. So you can say like 78%, this might be the likely outcome. And you take like hundreds of these probabilities and spit out a particular decision, which is how we fixed AI, at least initially.
The craziest thing is, this is the basis of all human behavior,
Exactly.
including all the human behavioral patterns that we now don't approve of, like racism.
Right.
This is probabilistic behavior that you don't think about it, but if you see somebody from another race, and what are you picking up on? You're picking up on visual cues.
Right.
You're picking up on skin of the color of the skin, or you're picking up on how they're dressed, or you're picking up on what football jersey are they wearing. Whatever
Right.
available information you have, you're picking it up, and you're trying to calculate the probability of you liking them, disliking them being a threat to
Exactly.
you, them
Exactly.
hurting you or mugging you, whatever. And this happens at a very subconscious level, and that is what you're trying to change. So when you say that racism has to go, it's not a
Right.
conscious decision. You have to understand the way your brain calculates probability of you getting hurt or you getting killed,
Yeah.
and solve it from there.
Right. And it's also that your like whatever identity is, or like whatever decision making is, when you look at someone, it's not your mind, it's a community's mind.
Yeah.
So your knowledge base is like based on where you, like how you grew up, what your environment was, and like how your identity evolved over time. And based on that identity, you make decisions and judge someone when you look at them, right?
Right.
So it's a community's mind.
It's
But
brilliant.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, let's talk about Turing test, because we talked about Enigma and we talked about
Yeah.
probabilities, but Turing test was the first form of like testing out what an artificial intelligence was. And there's a great scene in the movie where Benedict Cumberbatch is talking to an officer saying that, how do you differentiate? Like, am I a human or am I AI?
Yeah.
Which is a great conversation.
Yeah.
But that's basically saying that you put a human being and an AI in front of each other and see like how the conversation goes and if you can differentiate between a human and an AI, which was the Turing test. And now that computers have evolved so far, there's this whole idea of making a computer Turing complete. What that means is that every single computation that's mathematically possible, that computer can do. And like, to put it in a much like general sense, obviously it's much more mathematical than that. But like, if you look at Ethereum, right, going back to crypto, the whole thing with Ethereum is that it's Turing complete.
What does that mean?
So Turing complete means that it can computationally like solve any like problem or like reach a consensus in a formulaic way. Any problem that's given to it in like pure mathematics, so like let's say 999 times 999,
right,
and go on and on and on. It can do it parallelly by a set of like people, and it can computationally solve every single one of them.
Okay.
Which makes it Turing complete, and it basically has very little limitations in terms of what problems it can solve. And there's this whole like subcategory of like it's quasi Turing complete or it's pseudo Turing complete, where a lot of like
okay, is that like a way of grading intelligence?
Right. Yeah. And Turing complete is the highest form of it. So when you say that my computer or like Ethereum is Turing complete, it's saying that it's like very computationally capable of solving like very complex problems and heavy problems.
Okay. Sahil Nambishan, how far is AGI? So artificial general intelligence still quite far away. What I think we are still at modular intelligence or
modular intelligence.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll go over what we call Life 3.0 from the book. And we'll go briefly over that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, we've gone over Turing test, and if you like look at it from like a bird's eye view, it's what we're really doing is we're overcoming uncertainty through intelligence. And that's how sort of even in life, if you think about it as humans, what we're really doing through survival is overcoming uncertainty.
Yeah.
Whether it's the pandemic or whether it's just putting ourselves in an artificial environment where we feel more comfortable, making money, eating food, it's all like driven by overcoming uncertainty.
We are surrounded by things that we don't know for sure.
Exactly. Right.
And that is paradoxical because, and that's also ironic because the things that we know for sure, we ignore.
Right.
Which is the essence of taking for granted.
Right. And we take so many things for granted, right? We just don't realize it. And it's very subconscious. Like we adapt so quickly to our environment, and initially there's this spike of dopamine, but it goes down.
How often do you think about the floor under your feet? Or the fact that, when you switch on the bulb, the light will come on, or just random things. And you completely ignore them until they're not there. Yeah. Because there's no uncertainty there.
Right.
Which has a lot of relationship corollaries, by the way. So in a relationship, when you take someone for granted, the amount of attention that you pay to them goes down. And when somebody sort of makes it a point to make themselves feel heard or seen, they're actually increasing the uncertainty so that your attention is back towards the relationship. Right. And that has all to do with probabilistic reasoning and overcoming uncertainty.
Definitely. And even if you think about like in terms of evolution, like coming down from like we used to live in natural environments, like you think about cavemen, and then eventually now we're like surrounded by concrete buildings. There's fans and tables and chairs. Like we're doing everything we can to make ourselves like feel comfortable and
reduce
overcoming uncertainty. Right.
That's actually brilliant. Okay, I mean, I don't want to get into the whole entropy argument again, but but it is, we are decreasing, we are fighting against uncertainty because we are fighting against entropy. We want to delay it as long as possible.
Right.
In a way.
We want to delay it, exactly. Yeah.
I feel
and entropy is a discussion of its own.
Yeah, absolutely. Stochasticity of events, Harish, that's a good way of putting it. Piyush coming here from Prakar's stream, his stream went down for the Second consecutive day. Are you serious? Acharya Prashant cursed him. Arey yaar, poor fellow. Okay. Alright. Oh, I wonder if he wants to join in, but okay. The biggest uncertainty we constantly think of would be sex. Mihir, I won't argue too much about that. I think that when sex is uncertain, you do tend to think about it more. But that is true for everything. We are inviting newer uncertainties, Nitin.
Everyone has their own motivations.
That's true. All right, let's move on.
Okay, so let's talk about GPT-3 because that's more interesting, and then we can play around with it.
Yeah.
So GPT-3 is this artificial intelligence API that came out just recently. Well, not that recent. It came out much earlier, but it came out and it was all the buzz just because of how intelligent it was and how crazy smart it was, and the amount of use cases that you can build on top of it, including the one that I'm working on right now. It's just crazy. And I'll show you some examples of what's out there that's using GPT-3, and what it really is doing is outsourcing decision making. And there's some great examples of how it does that.
So we have always outsourced calculation,
right?
Since the beginning of technology, since abacus and clocks, we have always outsourced calculation. But now I think we have reached a stage in technological evolution where we are outsourcing decision making.
Right.
And that's the difference. That's the difference between a calculator and computers of today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So before it was calculations, now it's decision making. And even if you extrapolate it further, how far do we go with this?
Right.
Right now GPT-3 is an API that's open for developers, and even for people who are not developers, you can go to their website. If you were on the wait list and you got an API key, and then you can start using their playground and start talking to an AI. In fact, I'll give you a great example. I was sitting home. The first day I got it, I was talking to GPT-3 with my mom, and we were talking about afterlife and what happens after death. And
what a lovely conversation to have at home.
And it was those were just questions that you just don't know, right? And there was so many myths. So we were why don't we ask an AI? And then we had very philosophical conversations about what it means to be human and what's the meaning of life.
Of course.
And all that. Because why not, right? But yeah, so it's trained by 175 billion parameters.
Okay.
Which is huge. If for context, each parameter is a reference to some form of metadata,
right?
Where, or a piece of information on the internet. So building GPT-3.
So, quick question: was it trained by humans or was it trained by software?
So it was a mix of humans and software, or more specifically, what happened was they fed GPT-3 the entire data that's available on the internet, the entirety of the internet. Think about this: the entirety of the fucking internet was trained, and imagine. So I'll give you an example, right?
What can go wrong?
What can go wrong, right? Nothing and everything, right? So human beings, if you consider me or you, we have we act a certain way because of all the experiences we have and the knowledge base we have. But GPT-3 has the knowledge base and experiences of every single human being, or 7.8 billion people, or whatever's the data that's stored on the internet, all the interactions, and they just fed everything to it, which comes out to be 175 billion parameters. That's huge.
Right. And so, but it is still text in, text out. So that is
right.
That's the one safety net that we have, that it can only output in text, and it is not connected to any other form of output.
So actually, they just recently launched. I can actually show it to you, where you can put in any text and it's going to output an image.
Okay.
Which is we're scratching the surface now. So I'm gonna
show me. So I feel the one thing that is still keeping us safe is that even if you input all the information to something, if you limit its output, then you're safe.
Right.
As long as all it can do is say text you something or whistle, then it's fine. But if it is attached to Okay, think about this. When is a human being dangerous? When that human being can ultimately move something in the real world. When it can move its hands, when it can move a machine, when it can drive a car. So in the end, it has to be attached to a output that is capable of causing real world change. So input away,
Right.
but do not connect it to machines. Do not connect it to actual software that can end up doing stuff until we know more. Yeah.
Until we know more. Yes.
So this is GPT-3.
This is GPT-3. This is what they just recently launched.
DALL-E. Oh, DALL-E. Oh, is that a pun on the artist?
I don't know, probably.
DALL-E.
I don't know who that is. Is that, I don't know.
So DALL-E is I forgot which nationality he is in. Italian? Spanish? He's a painter.
Oh.
The guy who drew the screaming face and the melting clocks.
Oh, yeah. Now I know. I know the paintings.
Yeah. So Sunil Kumar said a text can change the world by manipulating a human with a weak mind. So that is true. But that is super meta. If you can text a human constantly and change his mind and make the human do something. I mean, that is the basis of Ultron.
Yeah.
And again, Hitchhiker's Guide, man, you cannot escape its references. Hitchhiker's Guide in the end had a computer that was pulverized, that was completely destroyed, and it got only its molecular pieces were remaining, and it slowly came together and it started coaxing human beings to behave in a certain way, and the human beings didn't know that it was not my own free will, that the computer was influencing me.
Right. And I mean, Douglas Adams is a genius, by the way. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you haven't read, everyone should give it a read.
So
but
tell me.
So I think what this GPT-3 does is that you can put in any like a cube, a porcupine, or like even like floral wallpaper, and it's gonna just generate images based on that. These are AI generated images.
And all these images are free to use?
Oh, well, I don't know that. So there's this AI generated.
Because tell me something, if I want to create a thumbnail, if I want to create a specific thumbnail on, say, artificial intelligence and computers and brain,
right?
I guess
you could do it.
Ask GPT-3 to create that image for me.
Right, you could. And I'll tell you like some more ways as we go more in this conversation of how like we use GPT-3 to write essays in college.
An armchair in the shape of an avocado. This is insane, man. Like graphic designers spend so much time making this.
I know. And these are like hacks that us like people that I'm a non-designer, so I can use this. So I use this for like something, and these are AI generated photos that are like free to use. And then you can like, change the sex, head pose, the ethnicity, and play around with it, which is pretty cool. And these are not real people, but they look very real.
Obviously. So none of these guys are real.
None of these guys are real. And by the way, I use some for like a side project that I was working on my website, because I was looking for like models, and I just didn't have very like friends who were like willing to give out their images. So I just use this.
Saying that my editor is sweating away.
Okay.
Yeah, a DALL-E like Bollywood DALL-E. I feel like it could be the best thing that gets created or the most evil. Yeah, it has to be in binary, right? Love, Death and Robots. Yogurt took over. Yes, Sunil Kumar. Very good episode. Very good series in general. But I really want to see this. Jenil, can you try it out? Can you see if I can create an image right now?
Yeah, let's see. I haven't actually tried it. Is there a way to do it? Text prompt? Yeah.
I'm sure there has to be. But it's okay. If we can't do it now, we'll try it again later.
Okay, we'll go to, let's go to my account. Let's go to Playground.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there's a playground.
So this is where we were going to do the demo.
Okay.
Or we could do and then we'd go to the Discord demo. But logo seems,
okay. What is the difference between AI and machine learning? What is the difference between AI and machine learning?
AI is, machine learning is sub AI, or like AI is subcategory of machine learning. So
okay. So machine learning is the overarching.
Right, exactly. And it's more like algorithmic and AI is more of like this concept where there's mathematics, and machine learning is where we actually implement neural networks and
Right.
really work on those algorithms where we can, like, there's k-means search, there's different adversarial search algorithms, and then we can explore them, figure out weights, and calculate the probabilities, which is what we worked on when we were studying intro to AI. If anyone's interested, by the way, okay, so it looks like I can't find a way to do it. If anyone
Uh,
already knows that I can access it, I'll try it out.
yeah, images is generated using GAN. Uh, a gen GANN, Generative Adversarial Neural Network. DALI is the GANN. So I think that is different though.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think we can try out the images later. For now, we can just do the question answer thing.
Yeah, we can do the question. So did we cover this? Okay, yeah. So let's actually go to the website and play around with it. So let's do Q&A, right? Q&A is fun.
Okay.
So this is like a sample of what it looks like. And I'll give you an example before we begin. I know some people who are in college that use GPT-3 to write essays from them in class and do homeworks from them. And
What, entire essays?
entire essays. And there's like, okay, so I'm going to give you for all the kids,
All right.
I think it was super flow.
So this would make it.
While that
This
loads,
would save a lot of time.
it would save a lot of time. It's fascinatingly unethical to do it in college, but people still do it. I know people, like smart people, who are like sort of hacking their way, which is like a good thing, right? Like if you don't want to spend time writing stupid essays on like Diwali and like just like redundant topics that you still have to do it for college and
Yeah.
do homeworks, hit me up. I can. No, just kidding. You
Can
can
it-
like look for resources and use GPT-3 to like do it for you.
It's a
I don't know why
great
it's not
business
doing it.
idea. No investment.
I mean, if you know a little bit of Google searching, there's like hundreds of resources where you can do GPT-3 generative outputs and like generate blog articles. And this is one of them. I don't know why it's not loading, but it's called superflow.ai, where you can do.
Okay, superflow.ai, guys. That's the site that you're not supposed to visit for your homework. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
and it's and yeah.
How many squigs
Is
are
that-
in a bonk? What? What?
What?
What is the last question? How many squigs are in a bonk?
Where? Wait, where?
In the Q&A. In the end.
Oh, yeah, I think that's. So yeah, this is like a sample thing. So the great thing is you can train it to do. So think of it as like a smart human being that knows a lot about stuff. It's very generic.
Yeah.
And now you can train it by asking these questions or even giving it like sample of what you want it to talk like.
So-
And then you can make it talk that way.
Right. So till here, it's what Google Assistant does.
Right. Till
Right,
here,
so-
it's what Google Assistant does.
There's nothing different between GPT-3 and Google Assistant till here.
Right. And the great thing is, I mean, like I said, you can train it to talk a certain way. So I can give, so let's say I was recently going through like terms and conditions and stuff for like, just making the website and like adding those things because it's important, and privacy policies and stuff. So I was like, okay, what if I like had GPT-3 make a privacy policy for me? So what I did was I like fed in like 10, 15 privacy policies of our like similar products,
Right.
and then see what it came out with. And it was astonishingly accurate of
Wow.
how the privacy policy looked like. So entire terms and conditions, privacy policies, and even like if you go to my blog,
So you're going to have legal documents made by GPT-3.
yeah. So I think there's this website called Do Not Pay, which is like artificial intelligence lawyer, and they robot lawyer, right?
Oh, wow. So
So-
one of the things I like about Jenil streams is that I come across a lot of very interesting websites.
Yeah.
The world's first robot lawyer. Unbelievable.
So again, I mean, fight corporations, bureaucracy. I think the future of lawyers.
Sue anyone.
Sue anyone, and also like sucks to be a lawyer, right? Because now that human resources, lawyers, doctors, we have like robotic surgeons, and these jobs are like just being taken over. That doesn't mean like that's not a bad thing necessarily, especially not me as a programmer.
I mean, initially they'll come for the lawyers' interns.
Right.
and then
Right.
the lawyers.
They- Uh,
So
so yeah,
for the, I mean, for our lifetime, at least for our earning lifetime, probably we are okay, all of
we're
us.
okay. Yeah. Hmm.
But
We're okay.
yeah, yeah. At least that's what we'll tell ourselves. Guys, chat, we are all
Right.
okay. Nothing to worry, okay? Do not feel threatened by AI. AI will only help us in our lifetime. I don't know about the next. I don't know about the next generation. All right, what's next?
Okay, so I'm gonna delete this because why not? Make this more clear. So let's ask a question. So who are you? Let's start with this, right?
Who are you? Okay.
I just want to see what it comes up with. So,
I am
okay.
a person who is interested in the history of the world. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like Google search where there's like definitive outputs. These are more generative outputs where think of it as like you're talking to a human being that is
Okay.
quite
Ask it, what is it? What is it? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I feel like we're taking an interview of this machine.
no, I've like talked to it like so I
I
see
see
myself in
myself
a
in
position where I can help people. Okay, so let's talk about
What is the meaning of life? Wow.
right.
This is deep stuff. The meaning of life is to
Right.
live.
Right. So here we can like, so now we can really tweak it. So where you can like increase the response length. So I'm going to make it 200 because I don't have that much allowance.
Okay.
And temperature is the amount of randomness. So 10 meaning it's going to be, 1 meaning it's going to be very adventurous and bold in its
Okay.
answers.
Okay.
And 0 meaning, close to 0 meaning it's going to be more predictive and more like dull and
Okay.
more like professional.
Make it
So,
make it 1. Let's see.
1, right? So this is all the way. So let's ask a question. So this can be very engaging. So if there's any questions that people want me
Okay,
to ask, I
guys,
can ask it.
what should we ask? What should we ask GPT-3? Ask what is your weakness? The inability to wait for things that I want.
Okay, why is it giving these like short ass answers? Okay,
Okay.
420.
This is, you know what? I realize why all these zodiac signs descriptions work so well, because these
Because it's
answers
like, yeah,
actually trigger you. You start thinking that, wait, even I do that.
hmm, yeah, they're oddly specific and relatable.
Are you afraid of GPT-4? Are you afraid of the
Let's take it.
human brain?
My studies suggest that I should be afraid, but I am not. Okay, there you go.
Damn. Okay.
So let's ask like some more tricky questions that you wouldn't necessarily Google. So
Why?
so
You, can we ask it relationship questions?
yeah, you can ask anything.
Uh,
So this is Q&A. Actually, let's do chat then. That's more like
okay.
it. So
Okay, so now it's just a chatting.
yeah,
How bad is social media? I like that question.
okay.
I can. How bad is social media? While social media can be addictive, the opportunities that come from it can be overwhelmingly positive. Guys, AI has spoken. Who is stronger, AI or human being? Who will survive? Ask why we chase knowledge. Both. I think humans will be around for a very long time. We are very optimistic. Wait, who is we? Bitch.
Yeah. So
they
I'll
have a
answer.
team already.
Yeah, so I'll answer 2 questions that we already asked. So first one was what's the weakness of GPT-3? I
Yeah.
think GPT-3's knowledge base is confined to the collective knowledge base of the human beings because
Right.
the data that's being fed to it is from the internet,
Right.
which is quite finite. Like what we don't know, GPT-3 does not know also.
Right. Right. Right.
So whatever the limitations of our collective intelligence is this limitation for GPT-3.
Yeah.
So obviously, like simulations can solve this problem where you can simulate different like scenarios and help it get smarter, but it's like confined to a certain form of intelligence.
I saw a very interesting question. Nain Nikam. Hey GPT, will you fail Turing test intentionally?
Uh, Will you fail
Turing test
during
intention.
during what?
No, Turing. The
Turing,
Turing.
right?
Yeah, test intentionally. Yeah. What?
Okay, so the temperature is 0.9, right? So as the temperature approaches zero, the model will become more deterministic and repetitive. So
Oh,
let's go all the way to one.
okay. Why does God exist? Why don't relativity and quantum physics go together?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Okay,
Okay,
great.
that's honest. All right. Does quantum physics and relativity coexist? Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
these are like pretty like short answers. I wanted to get more descriptive. I was like actually validating some ideas, like startup ideas with GPT-3, which was quite crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was validating like some just questions from life. So it's like crazy how the conversations can go. And one thing also is that GPT-3 can be very confidently wrong about certain things.
Hmm.
So I've seen it like contradict itself over time. So I've like talked about it on a certain topic for a while now. So like for like like 7-8 questions or even more than that, and it's given me like pretty good answers. But like when I like clear the chat and start writing again, it like adapts from the tone of the chat. So if I'm being like too aggressive or too friendly, it's gonna like adapt from that tone and respond a certain way. And based on that, it can also contradict itself and be very like confidently wrong.
And it can convince you all over again.
It can convince you all over again.
So we have been asking questions of yes and no. We should ask
Mhm.
questions that will make it describe stuff.
Right.
Uh, tell me your first, describe your first date or something like that. I don't have a
Okay.
first
Well,
date.
these are like
Okay.
really short answers. Okay.
Right,
So I don't know
exactly.
why it's doing this.
Trolley problem is a good question to ask. Or what's your favorite joke, or will अच्छे दिन come? I don't have
Okay,
a
why is this doing this? Okay.
GPT
Let's
3.
actually
I think आज उसका मूड नहीं है क्या?
wait, let's go back to the Discord bot. Let me actually set it up so we can do the Discord bot because it's kind of like similar and I think that can be more fun.
Can you describe Sid's tiger drawing? You know who? We don't want the software to crash. Okay. What do you think about human emotions? That's also a good question. So, guys, I think every one of you can go and check out this website. Where will they go, Jenil?
This is openai.com. I think you can go
OpenAI.com.
to
Okay.
beta.openai.com. This one. And you can join the waiting list.
Yeah. Would you sacrifice yourself or would you sacrifice a human? I like these questions. I like the questions the chat is asking. Are we
Okay.
living in simulation of maths? One of the solution to the trolley problem is to pull the train. What's behind Sid's curtain? Nitin, one of these days something will be behind Sid's curtain and then all of you will be,
Okay, fine.
yeah. Hmm. Invite only, try to log in. Yeah, correct. I think it's you had to register quite early for that.
Yeah. I registered quite early.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, why it's saying I don't know. Okay, so let's change the temperature.
How long does it take to get access from the waitlist?
It took me a week, I checked,
Oh,
but there's no guarantee.
okay.
I mean,
So,
I can speak for them, but
yeah, are we living in a simulation? So, Navneet, I think I have an interesting theory. I think we are living in a simulation of our own making, in the sense that we all have individual simulators. So, our brains are our individual simulators. That's sort of where I'm at right now. So Jenil, what I think we should do is,
Mhm.
uh, I would want us to go through your PPT. So just cover all
Yeah,
the
let's go
points.
through that.
Yeah.
And so I have a team that worked on the GPT-3 bot on
Yeah.
Discord. I think we can go over that towards the end of the stream
Sure.
as we're like setting up, and then we
Sure.
can have much more prolific conversations.
Correct.
Uh, but yeah, let's go with the slides first.
Yeah. Because also, I don't want our the live streams to go beyond 1.5 hours.
How long have we, what's
So
the
we've
last?
we've been talking for an hour.
Oh, damn. Okay. So let's talk about,
So at any point of if you're crossing that, we can always stop it and continue from that point next time.
sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go from here.
Hmm.
So we did a quick demo. Obviously, like it can be quite moody. It's not going to behave like Google. It's not just going to give you the answer to questions, but it can be like pretty smart and impressive in certain cases.
Yeah.
And I'll like in the end of it, if you're looking for resources, I'll share some great like implementations of GPT-3 that can be quite useful, including mine. So that can be like a shameless plug. But we talked, so it can go over generative outputs, filtering data, classifying stuff, and lots. But I think what's fun is talking about, now that we're on the topic of artificial intelligence, I think it's fun to talk about Singularity.
I love it that I think the first time I heard about Singularity was from a spiritual sense.
Mhm.
I think Vivekananda had spoken about it.
Yeah.
And now hearing about it from a technological sense it's almost like things have come full circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, my whole thesis recently have just been of like how I've been observing things is that we're circling back to the way we lived before
Mm.
and to the way like we thought before. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, let's talk about Singularity, which is a new dominant species, right?
Yeah.
A quite scary thought. So let's talk, and maybe you can join into this conversation because it's related to the human brain and it can get quite interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about synapses and neurons. So I'll talk about the chip. So this is the Neuralink chip that's gonna be basically planted in our
Yeah,
skulls.
I saw it on the pigs.
Yeah, poor pigs, but hopefully
They
down the
seem
line we
okay.
can.
Yeah.
They seemed okay. They were awfully quiet, but they seemed okay. So okay.
Multiplier. Yeah.
So multiply with the learned weight, and neuron is an accumulator. So this is a chip. You know, in terms of like just computers, there's multipliers and there's accumulators. And multiply is sort of with the learned weight, and neuron is sort of an accumulator. If we were to compare biological computation, which is neurons and synapses, to a computer like silicon computation, which is just chips and computers, what translates most accurately is this whole idea of synapses and neurons and multipliers and accumulators, where multiplier is learned weight and neuron is an accumulator, right?
Right.
So let's talk about biological computing. That's a typo. So
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay. C. elegans, yeah, that's a bacteria.
That's a bacteria, which is, I think it's the smallest intelligent species on planet Earth, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong there, but biological compute is basically measured in flops, which is the operations per second. And that's like a unit in computers that we use for calculating, the GPU performance and just calculating.
Flops is a acronym.
It's an acronym. So.
Oh my God. Okay. I never knew that. So OPS is operation per second.
Operation per second. So you can look at the.
FL is what? Something.
Yeah, FL. Wait, what was it?
Damn.
It's this operation per second.
When you say teraflops, so the new PlayStation 5 has whatever something teraflops. So that's an acronym.
Yeah, it's floating point operations per second.
Okay, you live and learn. All right, cool.
There we go. Okay.
Go on.
So here we are. So flops is basically the biological way. So in computers, flops is way to measure GPU performance and CPU performance.
Right.
But in this particular scenario, we're like comparing it to biological compute in terms of neurons and synapses, right? And C. elegans is like the smallest bacteria, which is the smallest intelligent species, which is, and if we were to compute the computation power or the intelligence into a number, it's 100,000 flops.
Okay.
Ants are about 2 gigaflops. Bees are 200 gigaflops. A mouse is 100 teraflops. A cat is 2 petaflops. And a dog is 4 petaflops. So I hope that settles the cat versus dog debate.
Okay. Can you just check how much is a PlayStation 5?
PlayStation 5 performance?
Yes,
Yeah.
it has its own teraflops. 1 second. Flops in okay, teraflops in Xbox
It's in
Series
teraflops, yeah.
X. 12.
What is it?
12.
Right? Crazy, right?
12 teraflops. So the Xbox Series X has 12 teraflops. Dude, okay. So that is somewhere
That's
better
quite
than
smart.
an ant, but much lesser than a bee. Okay. No.
Yeah. Much lesser than a mouse.
Much less than a mouse. Okay, more than a bee, less than a mouse. Is that it? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, not
So
bad.
yeah, if you have like 10 cats or like 5 dogs in a room, and just you, then the collective intelligence is equal, mathematically speaking.
Yeah, but they're not communicating as well, and they're not cooperating as well.
Yeah, and we'll talk about
As
that because yeah,
amazing. So you could play Cyberpunk on a mouse. You do play Cyberpunk on a mouse.
yeah, there you go.
Oh man. All right,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, so cats are 2 petaflops, dogs are 4 petaflops, and humans are 20 petaflops. So
Okay.
a great thing when you look at like just very smart people than you is that regardless of how smart they are, at the end of the day, every human being is 20 petaflops. Even Leonardo DiCaprio is 20 petaflops.
So Leonardo da Vinci, we have
Da
no
Vinci too, yeah.
problem. So
Yeah.
humans are just 5 times more cognitively. The cognitive computational power is 5 times more than dogs.
Right, exactly.
Amazing. All right, go on.
Yeah.
I like
So
this
we're that
conversation.
much smarter. Yeah. And obviously I didn't go beyond humans because there's much smarter species. Like if we talk about whales and like other species that live up to 200 years,
Right.
they're much smarter than us. But
So their petaflops are more.
yeah, they're more. And there's a whole list on Wikipedia. You can Google it.
Oh damn.
So
Okay.
if you're curious, then you can go through the hierarchy of like who is the smartest and
Yeah. So you
but I left
were
it as
saying
a
that was great for my self-esteem. Yeah. You and me both, man.
Mhm. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, we stopped at humans. Feels good, right?
Yeah.
So humans are a network. We operate like a network, right? It's just like a software, just like a social network. We are the most hyper-connected species that exists since the evolution of like wherever we
Yeah.
stand right now, and we're only getting more and more connected. Like transferring a message, it's sort of like neurons. It just reaches fast, like instantly, right? And like if you see the world population, this is the Moore's law of how it doubles over time and how it grows exponentially. And if you think about it, we've just grown so much more faster, and so has technology.
Right.
So we operate like a network. If you think about cats and dogs are more like, cats are like local area, and dogs are like local area network, where dogs communicate with each other locally,
Yeah.
sort of like LAN and WLAN, and humans are more like a global network.
Global network. Yeah. Yeah. But there's an interesting point. So go on to the next slide. When you say that a human has a cognitive capacity of 20 petaflops, we are saying that the neurons inside that human's brain is communicating at a rate fast enough for 20 petaflops of computational output.
It's capable of.
It's capable of. Yeah.
Right. So that doesn't mean it's doing it.
Right. But when you put 2 humans together, it doesn't mean that now you have 40 petaflops.
Not really.
Because the 2 humans are not communicating at the same efficiency that the neurons are communicating with each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. That's an important distinction.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, that's a good insight.
Yeah.
Cool. So my whole thesis behind this whole conversation, especially with artificial intelligence, we didn't go much technical, but the whole thesis, like if I had to leave you with one thought that you can ponder upon later, is that the rise of humanity was a result, or especially evolution was a result of our collective intelligence.
Yeah.
Is my whole thesis. right? And brain software isn't that good given its hardware. You know, that's a joke that I like to make when people, seem to like cocky about themselves, but it's not that great of hardware. Like if you think about other species that are much stronger than us, it's not that smart, and we can't run really fast. Like
Yeah.
we can be easily eaten by a bigger animal, but we're smart. So let's talk about some maths and let's calculate our collective intelligence in terms of biological compute, right? Like if you were to give it a number and give it an approximate number of the collective biological compute right now. So if you consider like 7.8 billion people, um, that's about 10 to the power 26,
Yeah.
which is 100 billion petaflops.
That is the total computational power of all human
Humans
beings
are
put together.
put together. If we were hyperconnected.
Assuming hyperconnectivity and the kind of connectivity that the neurons have with each other, that level of
Yeah,
connectivity.
exactly.
So when you say lost in translation, when you say miscommunication, all of that has to go out of the window. There has to be perfect
Right,
communication.
right.
Without,
And
yeah,
yeah, there's got to be perfect communication, and there's got to be some level of uniformity with the way we approach to ideas and the way we look at knowledge.
yeah.
And if history has taught us anything, we're pretty stupid people, at least so far. Especially the people like who voted for Trump, and just the kind of sheer stupidity we've seen and idiocracy we've seen happen. We aren't that smart yet. But computers are computers. So a great thing about computers is that when we do have like artificial intelligence lawyers, instead of human lawyers, like humans don't always give the right answer. Uh, computers almost always gives the right answer, and in a deterministic way. So lawyers are pretty expensive if you consider that like in terms of AI. They're pretty expensive per hour, but to run a code on Python takes like less than $1 a server, and it almost always gives you the right answer, but humans don't. So, I would really bet on technology on like
For
taking
sure.
part of those decision making.
Yeah, correct.
So
Yeah.
this is the amount of biological flops, which is I think this number is off. So a disclaimer here is that these numbers are off by about 20 years. So according to the cosmic timescale, 20 years is nothing, right? So that error is okay.
So how does, okay, I mean, that's like a different discussion, but how did you calculate, or how does one calculate the computational power of a human being?
So it's from the average brain and the number of neurons and synapses. So if we go back to this photo, right? And if we were to calculate, so multiply, so if the chip is 8 bits and if you multiply it with 2 and the amount of operations per second, you can get the silicon compute of that computer. Same thing with neurons. If you take an average brain and if you consider like at its full capacity or like at its most usable capacity, how much compute would we generate with like in terms of like mathematics, or like if you considered a learned weight as a multiplier and neuron as an accumulator, what would that equation look like? So that's where these numbers come from.
Right, but it has a lot of problems thinking like that, because a lot of the neurons are inhibitory. I mean, they are not,
Right.
they're designed to prevent other neurons from acting. So
Right.
counting all the neurons and saying that they'll all add up isn't true. Because one of the things that the brain is really afraid of is epilepsy, which is seizures, and uncontrolled firing of neurons is what epilepsy is.
Yeah.
So a lot of energy is spent in making sure that the neural wave is contained,
Right.
and it doesn't spread out. So most of the signals are inhibitory. So I'm not
Right.
sure if every neuron can be added for that calculation. So maybe we are overestimating our own capacity. Maybe we don't have 20 petaflops of. I don't know. I have to
Maybe.
read into this. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. So let's go here. So silicon compute, right? Silicon compute is if you consider phones, computers, quantum computers, supercomputers, anything from the smartest machine to the dumbest machine to the dumbest calculator.
Yeah.
If you add all of that up, silicon flops, that comes down to 10 to the power 25. and
all the silicon in the world till
all the
now.
silicon in the world. Yeah,
Wow.
not considering like really like small like stupid stuff, but like
Right.
all the big ones,
Right. Damn.
which
So
is
that's
computers, phones,
less.
tablets. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So I think I'm off by number here. I think it's 10 to the power 28, not 26.
Okay.
So it's a typo, but
Right.
we'll look at the graph here.
Hmm.
So these are the bioflops in blue, and green is the silicon flops, Si flops. And we explored the idea of like, we started with the whole idea of singularity, right? When
Right.
will the singularity happen? And for people who don't know, singularity is when like the machines take over, or like the humans are no longer the more dominant species on planet Earth.
Right.
And this is 10 to the power 28. And that's where we are, like bioflops, human beings.
Right.
And silicon flops, it's been growing. According to Moore's law, if we were to estimate, when would that be? Is about 2038, which is when the Unix timestamp rolls over.
Right.
And this is the intersection.
2016.
2000, yeah, somewhere between 2050 and 2060.
Damn. Not long to go.
Not long to go, and this is when the singularity happens. So if an alien were to come to Earth and ask, like, who is the most dominant species on planet Earth? It's no longer humans, it's machines.
Unless we are assuming that that blue line stays static.
Right. We're assuming that this blue line stays static, but I think in the near future, like, I'm quite optimistic in the sense that in the near future, I think AI will be our friend and
Yeah.
will help us like outsource a lot of our decision making.
Yeah. If we
And
start,
yeah,
I mean, if you add technology as a added layer of evolution,
mhm,
and we become biotechnical, not just
right,
biological, then that blue line will shift.
right. That blue line with chip, and we're already like kind of cyborgs,
Yeah.
where we have our phones, we have our laptops.
Yeah.
If we don't know something, we quickly Google it. We're used to that. So,
Correct.
and Google is a verb now. It's not just a technology. When it's things are verbs, then you've made it. So it's I think we're
I mean, that's
going
the only hope, right? Because if you have to wait for natural evolution, if you have to wait for your biology to evolve enough, and you have to wait for your prefrontal cortex to develop another layer on top, that is going to take another million years.
that's gonna take another million
We
years.
don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, we don't.
So it makes logical sense that eventually you do have to add technology right on top of your brain.
Yeah, and it's coming back to the whole idea of uncertainty. We want to get rid of it as fast as possible, and technology is a way to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was the whole idea of this talk, is that I think beyond climate change, I think climate change is a huge problem to solve
Yeah.
in the short term. But singularity is one of those problems that's going to be like 10, maybe 1,000 times bigger than climate change that we don't have an answer to yet. Like what happens when an AI takes over? If it does, do we have an answer for that? And currently we don't.
Currently we don't.
Currently it's this like small baby and it already seems cool. It like gives us these really nice answers, but like
Yeah.
what does it look like 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line?
And because of exponential growth, and because human brains are not capable of calculating a compounding effect, we can only think of it in terms of linearity. We can only think
Exactly.
that आज ये है तो फिर 10 साल में इतना ही होगा. But
Huh.
things just exponential growth cannot be visualized.
Right, exactly.
It's
And
yeah.
yeah, it's hard to predict. It's like only easier to connect the dots like in hindsight and looking back in retrospect.
Yeah.
But like just looking forward, you just cannot predict what's gonna happen. But yeah, technology is crazy. So yeah, that was my elaborate presentation.
Dude, this was really nice. I really loved the ending. Jenil OP, as somebody said in the chat. Absolutely.
Cool.
For example, I'm sorry I can't talk. I'm playing with quantum properties of my computer in GTA. Okay. Not just
Cool.
cyborg. We can evolve with drugs too, right? So Kunal, that's not really true.
Oh, DNA sequencing. That's another topic of its own.
That way. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking more of psychedelics and stuff, but yeah, DNA sequencing is another way of
Yeah, and
speeding up evolution.
so the other day I was like going through biology and just looking at DNA synthesis, and you can like order machines on Amazon for like $18,000 or $17,500, something like that on eBay, where you can synthesize DNA and RNA in your home, and you can just compute it. You can write a bunch of code, and then you can print it out.
Yeah.
and basically create a COVID-19 2 or something like that if you wanted to in your home. And there's this, I don't know if I can share it, but if you guys are curious to look at it, there's this website called the Odin,
Odin.com.
where you
Okay.
can order these machines, and these are like experiments that you can do to, yeah, these are like kits that you can do to like
Wait,
learn
what?
biology, and
Genetic engineering home lab kit. My
right,
God.
which is crazy, right? And it's on sale, by the way, so you grab it while you still can.
Oh man.
Crazy world out there, right? It's like
It's a mad world.
it's a mad world. So, so yeah,
Okay.
if you're into this, try it out. Please don't create a virus. But
Piyush Kumar, apologies. I want to ask you something off topic. Request one on self doubt. Sure, Piyush. Sure. Put it on the Discord channel. I have a channel just for topic suggestions, and I am actually going through them and picking up topics one by one. But yeah, this Monday we are going to do something fun. I wanted to ask you guys what we should do. We talked about grief, mob mentality, nostalgia, and I want to discuss something much more fun this Monday. Pick one. I was thinking something like either cricket or because of the test match win that amazing test match win that we
incredible, right?
had. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Or because we are finally done with Donald Trump and Twitter seems so shant now, I thought we could discuss Donald Trump. So I feel like doing something crazy next Monday. So pick one. Tell me what you feel like discussing. All right, Jen. What did you want to show? You wanted to show the Discord
Yeah,
GPT.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
let me, yeah. So I'm gonna ask my team to have it ready so we can do like a quick demo and see how it works
Yes,
because
yes.
we've been like hacking on it for a while now. So I'm gonna share my screen. Let me just quickly ask them. Until then, like if you have questions,
Done, done.
uh, until
Dolan.
then, if you have questions, yeah, tell me. Then I can ask it.
Oh yeah. So, Chad, what do you want to ask? What do you want to ask GPT-3? So Jenil has made uh, a sort of like a bot, is it? Like a GPT-3 bot for Discord?
Yeah, we have made it. So I'm working on a product called Autopilot where we are sort of outsourcing these decision making, and we're building a bot for customer support. So anyone who wants to do that, that they can do it. They can
Amazing.
just have that customer support because one thing I hate is like being on calls and pressing one and two and then waiting for 10 hours and then talking to an individual. So we just like have an AI do it, and we're going to go through that. And then we're writing automated emails. So the AI will write an email for you. And there's a great resource for that. Actually, I can show it to you, which is called Other Side AI.
Other side.
Other Side AI. Yeah.
There's
I
always
don't
a
know.
resource for everything.
Yeah.
Trump, not more than 20. Journalist cyborg already. Neuroscience of Trump.
So this is
Vladimir
something what
Putin.
we're
भाई नहीं भाई हम लोग को नहीं करना है. What is this?
so this is an email. So this is how GPT-3 write emails for you. So instead of like, you writing emails, GPT-3 can write it for you, which is something like similar to what we are building. And we have like a really like a nice version of it, like kind of in test working right now. And we're trying to transport it to Gmail so that everyone can use it on their own Gmail. And this is basically I made for like my own purpose.
Unbelievable.
This is Otherwise AI, where we made like a automated GPT bot, and you can talk to it, you can talk for customer support, but you can also do like emails, content marketing. You can outsource all of that decision making there. So let me actually let's go over the Discord bot. Are there any questions on AI or just generally?
What happened?
Are there any questions that need to be answered
No, so
while
Chad, give me questions. Give me questions to ask.
while I get this thing to work, or at least get started?
So you can ask about. So is it any different from the GPT-3 on the website?
It's different in the sense. So what we're doing right now in the Discord bot is that we've gauged it towards the context of the conversation. So any company that wants to have this bot as a customer support, it can like learn from the company policies and what the company is and answer questions for you. So you can just type any questions that you have, like let's say, hey, I'm stuck on like
Right.
refunds, or like, hey, I want to cancel this, or like just any issues that you know Otherwise, like a client desk or like a help desk or call center, they would have to
Yeah.
answer it, and they have to do it like 100 times over to people. Uh, you can have the AI do it, and it can do it parallelly, 24 hours
Right,
a day.
right. So a lot of these websites have it, right? They have a small customer chat pop up happening. So those are all bots, right?
Those are all bots, but those are all like restricted to a certain point where it's more like FAQ, right? You're
Hmm.
answering frequently asked questions, and
Hmm.
uh, it's less like, if you do get stuck somewhere, you still have to call someone. So that's an interesting. So let me actually share my screen. And okay, I'll show you the
IBM
conversations we had so
Watson.
far.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, IBM Watson. I mean, I'm not going to comment on it, but not a fan of IBM Watson.
Oh
It's
no.
an absolute joke.
Okay.
So a fun fact about that is that I used to work in research with my professor when I was in college, and we used to work with IBM Watson,
Mm-hmm.
IBM blockchain lab research in Alameda, and uh, the blockchain that they built, enterprise blockchain, is an absolute joke and it's absolute garbage. I mean, Steve Jobs wasn't wrong when he showed the middle finger to IBM because they call it an enterprise blockchain, but it's controlled by this centralized entity and it's only like managed and used by a set of enterprise companies. And there's no such thing as enterprise blockchain. They just don't understand what the whole narrative of blockchain is. But anyways, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
go
but
over that.
I like how you said that I'm not gonna dish them, and then you went on a rant.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm very so I've had like personal experience with IBM and I'm not sort of okay. So I'm pretty sure you can see my screen now. So my team hasn't responded.
Okay.
Poor folks.
So this is
So
on your this is on a separate Discord channel, is it?
this is on a separate Discord channel. This is the Discord channel that we're testing with.
Okay.
So this is basically a bot where you can just press start and it's gonna start talking to you like, hey, if this is Carrot Juice, this is my friend Vivian.
Right.
How can I help you today? And then talk about the weather today. So it's gonna say it's currently 72 degrees in San Jose. So it also knows the location of it if you do mention that.
Right.
And if you say, who is Jenil Thakker, then it'll tell you like what that is. And
Hmm.
basically any company or any conversation like within the context of like what's doable and what's not. So one of the problems that we handled was that how do we keep someone like stay within context and not like talk about anything else because it's gonna respond to anything, right?
Right.
So we've like made it in a way where it just talks about a certain things and it's spam free, so you cannot spam it and it won't respond to you.
Right.
And it can ask these questions so like, how does this bot work? It's a fully automated GPT-3 AI enabled chatbot. And what can this
So
bot do? It's
are there more of this, or is this like a very novel thing?
There's more of this, but it's still very few. It's so GPT-3 is like really in early stages. There's like projects that are out there that have
Right.
built on top of it. And if you like look at like other products,
Is
I'm
that
gonna do
bot
a new
similar
share.
to Replica bot? Okay. I haven't seen.
So there's like similar like bots that are out there. So if you look at copy.ai, which is like content marketing
Mm-hmm.
with GPT-3. So the GPT-3 writes like advertisements, blogs, and stuff for you, generates ideas.
Oh.
And
Dude, I had to check out these sites, man. They look damn cool.
yeah, so you can do ad copies, you can do social media content. So as like someone who's a founder, but also like programs, writes code, I
Right.
don't want to spend time on like doing social media content all the time, right? It can be incredibly time consuming.
Right.
So it can do like captions on
It can
Instagram.
make Instagram posts. What?
So a fun fact is we built something similar, and my previous Instagram post that I did was through AI. So it was completely an AI generated post.
Yeah?
So I didn't tell anyone, and it was just quite interesting to see like how it done. So it chose like images from my library, like photo album, and then it picked images, and then it like picked the location and put the caption based
Good
on like
God.
all the images that I posted earlier, and then it posted like on Instagram, which is
So
crazy.
the weird thing is, if a content creator can create Insta posts, then the consumers can also create an AI to go and like or comment or share.
Yeah.
and, and then the point remains that what do you want to do in social media? If
Exactly.
if both sides are just using their AIs to talk to each other,
Yeah, but then you can focus on things that are more
like
proprietary, that are
meeting in
more
the
like
garden and
like me.
actually going for a walk.
Right. So it's all about like just outsourcing all that redundant stuff that we find like annoying, or just like answering to like every single comment, or like just automating all of that
Oh
process and
wow,
doing it all at once. But
amazing.
yeah, there's plenty of these, that you can check it out. Obviously, don't use any of them. We're building something similar, so just use
Yeah,
ours.
yeah. I won't.
But
Amazing,
yeah,
man.
it's pretty cool. All the stuff that's out there.
You
If
know who's
you want to,
saying if AI saw my gallery, it would make an appointment with my therapist. All right.
yeah, that's something that's out of bounds. So let me tell you some things that you can and cannot do with AI,
Mm-hmm.
which is use case guidelines, right? You cannot talk about stuff that's political. You cannot talk about stuff that could be racist. You cannot talk about, obviously, like anything is NSFW, like sexual, or just you cannot have those kinds of conversations just yet, because
So racist is decided by whom?
it's by them as
Yeah.
of now.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
so social media spam, political implications, just generating narrative, stuff to influence like political decisions, like
Got it.
generating like articles or essays that seem like humans did it, or like trying to get on top of the Google search by SEO purposes. So there's like so much manipulation that you can do
Yeah.
that OpenAI doesn't allow you to do, but it's certainly
But this is
something
such
that,
a such a slippery slope, and I think the faster we all learn about it and talk about it, the more comfortable we'll be because this is happening, irrespective of
like,
whether we know about it or not.
mhm.
And yeah, so I'm glad that at least this conversation started.
Yeah. So so the bot is up. Finally, my guy responded,
All right.
and let's ask something. So
All right. So just say good evening. Start the conversation. Let's be polite.
I think we have to say talk, which is the command.
Hmm.
Oops.
Or 2L.
Um,
AI will never be able to replace Voldy though. Yeah, sure, Voldy.
okay, so
I would hate for a. Yeah. Good evening. How can I help you? All right.
let's ask something. So just ask one question and just see, like, how do you work? Right. We can obviously ask like more complex questions than this, but it can like pretty much.
Yeah. So ask if it can explain the movie Tenet.
Is this how it's spelled?
Yes.
Is it bad that I don't know what Tenet is?
It's yeah.
It is.
I would be super impressed if Tenet is a movie about a group of people who are trapped in a house and are killed off one by one.
Is this the movie plot?
Is it? I honestly didn't understand the movie much, but that is definitely not what happened. Unless it's a super
Okay.
meta way of talking about it. Tenet is about time travel.
Okay, so that was quite adventurous, and
Yeah.
that was a sweeping bold claim. But okay.
Explain the movie Imitation Game. Alright, cool. Here it's accurate. Movie
Okay.
about a man who's a mathematician trying to crack the Enigma code. Alright. So what can GPT-3 bot do that Google Assistant can't?
Or like a better question is, how is GPT-3 different from Google Assistant?
How? That is not Tenet. Explain Project Mayhem. Okay. Haven't seen, no spoilers. Is metaphorically correct about Tenet.
Okay, so here you go. So GPT-3 is an AI general purpose technology that can be used for a variety of applications.
Google Assistant is a specific application of Google Assistant uses GPT-3 or it uses a version
It
of.
does not. It's like a similar like application of it. So what it's
Right.
trying to say, it's like it's a sub version of it.
Right.
Whereas GPT-3 is more general purpose.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know,
so
we are not asking hairline problems here. I'm sorry. That's.
okay, last question before we go. So
uh,
any questions, or we can do more if you want.
you want to do what?
Last question. Any questions that we left?
Enigma. That's all. Okay, let's talk about uh, what neuroscience topic should I discuss on Monday? Should Siddharth Warrior discuss on Monday? Discuss next. All right. Siddharth should discuss how the brain processes information. Okay. All right. I can do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. This is actually interesting because uh, it's both specific and generic at the same time, and
Mhm.
that is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy to
So
create that kind of answer.
yeah, so this was like sort of an early access
Hmm.
or early like sneak peek to what we are building. This
Right.
is going to be more like customer support and more like gauged toward like a specific conversation. And it's going to be like a one-click integration for anyone to like embed this GPT-3 bot into their own server or like just use it on their own website as like
Yeah.
this,
This
thing
is
where they can
actually
just
pretty
start
fun.
chatting.
Like if you have a channel where GPT-3 is active and
Yeah,
people can just come and keep asking it random questions.
right, exactly.
That's
And
pretty fun.
yeah, so the greatest one that just recently came out was GPT-3 making websites. So you can just tell it, like, a website for medicine delivery, online
Right.
medicine delivery, and
Right.
it'll make a website for you. And now it's writing code for me.
Website
So it's
creators
taking
out of
all
the
of our,
window.
yeah,
Unbelievable. Actually, very believable. I mean, it's now we have to stop thinking of it as futuristic and realize that it is happening now today. It's not in the
yeah.
future.
Right. And it's this thing where like, it seems like GPT-3 is like sort of taking over, but humans are still like ahead and
Mm.
smarter at this point. We're still a little better. So
Yeah.
it won't be like it will take over all our jobs. I think it's a good thing. Like if you asked me 10 years ago, like being a YouTuber was like a full-time job, you'd laugh at me.
Yeah. Correct.
But yet still here we are.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to open up like very creative
Now,
jobs
now
for
nobody is
us.
laughing. Now everybody is just holding their heads and like, what the hell is happening? Kind of like Google Duplex, scary AF. Neuroinformatics is actually a crazy subject to talk about. We can discuss
Yeah.
that. We are in the future. All right. So this is so one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this GPT-3 itself has been very interesting, and I wanted people to know about it.
Mhm.
And artificial intelligence in general, I felt that uh, I really wanted to talk about intelligence. I want to talk about general intelligence, and I want to talk about
Mhm.
how is it that, like GPT-3 so sensibly said, how is it that the brain processes information, which
Mhm.
is what the topic of intelligence is about.
Mhm.
And this, I thought of discussing intelligence first and then go into AI, but
Mhm.
I feel like people are more aware about AI than general
Right.
intelligence.
Right. And we're still like, also like if you're interested, we skip that part, but general intelligence is still like 50 years away apart.
Yeah.
Like according to Max Tegmark, who's
Yeah.
a professor at MIT and wrote a great book called Life 3.0,
Hmm.
highly recommended.
Hmm.
It was one of those books that I picked up and read cover to cover,
Okay.
and it just like blew my mind about artificial intelligence and
Let's have
the
a book club
implications
on
of it.
it. I'm looking for
Uh,
books like that.
yeah, so Life 3.0 is a huge, and he also did a podcast with Lex Friedman
Okay.
recently.
Yeah.
So it's worth checking out. But us, he like very casually mentions in the book that he worked with Stephen Hawking and he was his colleague. So he's like that kind of person. Like he's a visionary. So I think everyone should read that book if they're
Done.
interested in like
Yeah, yeah.
where artificial general intelligence can go.
I'm gonna get it. I'm reading Taleb now, and we are gonna have a book club on him. But after that, we
Uh,
can do this.
and then Talib,
Yeah.
okay, Black Swan or which
No, no,
one
no.
is it?
Anti-fragile.
Oh, Anti-Fragile. That's a good one.
Very interesting.
Very
Very
interesting.
interesting. All about chaos and discipline, and
I love that guy. I mean, he's a contrarian and he has
yeah,
like very like edgy views, but it's just his whole idea of Black Swans is pretty interesting to me, and it's a great book. But yeah,
yeah.
I
So anti-fragile is sort of like the solution to the black swan problem.
right,
Like once you
yeah,
identify that there is unpredictability, now what? What do you do?
right.
So very very interesting. We should definitely have a conversation on that. Can you ask to give a list of fun AI websites? Okay. if you have website recommendations, you can just maybe send it to me or whatever. I'll
I'll
put
send
it
it
in the
to you.
description.
I'll tell you like one website where you can find all of them.
Okay.
And most developers know this, but it's a website called producthunt.com. I can actually
Okay.
share my screen and show it to you.
Producthunt.com, guys.
Which is where I go in the morning just to see what's out there. Because developers so there's these cool products, so you can just do AI here, artificial intelligence, or just do GPT-3, right? And it'll show you all the products that are out there.
Oh, lovely. Wow,
So,
amazing.
this is where a lot of my resources come from. Obviously, other places too, just on Twitter, but a great place to find also, like,
There
if you
is a
don't know,
website called Track Biden.
yeah,
Brilliant.
crazy, right?
All
There's
right.
if you want to see okay, so this is but this is a website where you can see really edgy use cases of, or just edgy projects that don't particularly have a use case, but they're just really fun. So anti-ad club, medical bill art, finger on the app, and
Okay.
it's just really weird apps, but it's kind of boomer email and it's pretty cool. But anyways, find good AI
Brilliant.
projects here. GPT-3 Crush.
Yeah.
It's obviously, Tailwind CSS. It writes job descriptions, blog idea generator, books.
So all of
There's
this is
so many
under
things.
Product Hunt, and then you search for GPT-3 and you'll find all of it.
Right. Yeah. So these are all the products that are out there.
Brilliant.
So
Bosch
yeah.
911 speaker. All right. Wow. Speaker with a built-in GPT-3. You can, there are endless use cases for this. You can insert
Endless.
GPT-3
I
into
mean,
anything.
yeah. And they're quite expensive just working with them. So they're making a ton of money, and it's all going to AI safety, but also
For sure.
yeah.
And you can have doorknobs with GPT-3 and there'll be some use case for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Jenil, pleasure as always having you on. The
Yeah.
conversations are always great.
Yeah. This was fun.
Next time we'll have Srinath back. We'll go back to talking about coding. There are a lot of things still to talk about.
Yeah, so many. And let's also talk crypto. I think it's an equally
Yes.
interesting and exciting topic,
Yes.
both in terms of finance and just learning about math. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. And I think there are so many things that we need to learn about crypto, not just from an academic perspective, because it's going to affect us for sure.
it's yeah. I mean, so the whole idea of decentralization. I think 2020s, the next decade, is going to be a swing at decentralization because
Yeah.
we're losing. So I did this question where who lost more credibility, the Federal Reserve or the media? And I think it was both this year. So the more we lose interest in these two things,
Yeah.
we're going to go towards more blockchain enabled future.
Correct. So one of the reasons why YouTube is picking up so much is because there is more interest in individual content creators and people who are directly approaching content creator to audience. There is nothing in the
Right.
middle. There's no
Right.
media house. There's no institution in the middle.
Right.
So there is, because of the decreasing trust in institutionalized information,
Mhm.
everything is going out of institutions, so out of college universities, out of campuses, out of
Mhm.
media, out of news houses,
Right.
and it is going towards individual people giving information to a group of people around them.
It's this whole idea. So the whole idea of my crypto startup is composable communities.
Yeah.
And composable communities is just humans have a natural tendencies of forming communities, and how do you monetize them, and how do you economically structure them and regulate them?
Yeah.
And it's communities is the future, right? And we're gonna form these cloud cities, as they call it, where
Join
people are
Discord,
gonna
guys.
reside.
Join Discord.
Yeah.
This was super fun. As always, all these discussions just open your mind up a little bit more and make you see the future in a slightly different way, or make you
Yeah.
see the future at all. Sometimes we are
Right.
so caught up in the present, thinking about आज क्या करना है, कल क्या करना है. You don't really
Yeah.
think about the big picture.
Right.
All right, chat. This was amazing, super fun talking to you all. I'm going to catch you guys on Friday night. So Friday night we are having a poetry club on Discord. We are going to discuss Sahir Ludhianvi. If you are familiar with it, we are going to talk about Sahir Ludhianvi's poems. We'll talk about his life. We'll call some people who are familiar with his poems and So I'll see you all on Discord on Friday night. Jenil, you're welcome to join if you're into poetry, if you're into
I
Hindi
am a little
poetry.
bit.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
So
Sounds good. Thank
yeah,
you.
do
Thank you so
share.
much.
All right. See you, man. Good night.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Bye.